What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for another week of building the Battle of Coruscant in LEGO. This week's gonna be interesting. It's getting towards the end of the month and I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel with the parts that I bought with my monthly budget for the channel. I'm trying to really scrape together what progress I can. That being said, I did come up with one of the coolest sections of battle damage I have done for the mock. This might be one of the coolest ones that will be in it. I will probably do something similar to it, but on a much larger scale. So I'm excited to show you how that came together. And I'm also going to be working on the wall where the other half of the sky bridge is going in and kind of figuring out where exactly that vulture droid's coming down and crashing. So good stuff ahead. You know what to do. Execute Order 66 on that like button and let's get started. I've been putting off this next section of the build because it's intimidating me, but that ends now. A big chunk of this side of the entertainment complex will be dictated by where the vulture droid crashes into the wall and ground. So I'm going to start by working on that. I'm basically going to fly the ship into the ground repeatedly until I can figure out roughly where it would land and what it would do if it were crashing. Then I'm going to pull up the brick and plate in that area and do what I did for the other broken sections of sidewalk in this mock. Create a sloped hole/valley and add in plates and tiles and slopes, working out in an upward direction until I have what looks like the sidewalk that has been smashed or broken. It's a process of putting down parts, seeing how they look and pulling them up and adjusting accordingly. This crash site and the surrounding area may not look exactly accurate, as I probably didn't get the angle of the incoming ship completely right, or the impact crater in the wall and the floor may be off, but it's important to remember this is just a mock and I'm just trying to create a cool looking scene that makes sense visually, not create a crime scene in its exact detail. That being said, I want you to be able to look at this and think, oh yeah, I can see that vulture droid coming down, crashing and doing all this stuff. Now that the sky bridge is permanently installed into this side wall, it's time to finish off the rest of the wall. While this section is in a smaller alleyway that won't be super visible, I still want it to look good and match the other side of the apartment complex. So I'm going to add in a couple of pop outs on the side to represent pipes, air ducts, rooms, whatever you want them to be. I feel like I've really nailed down what I want the greebling to look like on these buildings. But this side will just be a bit more plate than tile, just because I'm running low on tile. I have been adding more raised tiles in as well to make the wall look more textured and worn. For some reason, I really enjoy adding vents as well. I've actually added them in places they probably wouldn't go, but that's the nice thing about building a foreign world. It's not bound to our same architectural and structural practices. Let me know in the comments if you think I should add in some pipes on this wall to give it more detail. Boy, do I have an update for you guys. So before I get to the exciting thing, I'm going to show you the little bit more mundane build. I got a big chunk of this wall built and tiled off. Got the two pop outs right there. Threw in some vents and a little circular drain right here. I'm very happy with how it looks overall. However, I think it looks a little bit more studded and textured than the front side, so I may experiment with making it look a little bit smoother. Unfortunately, this is pretty much all the tile I have, so this is all that I'll be able to get done until next month when I can order some more in. I am thinking about adding some pipes in, maybe running up between this pop out or up here somewhere. I don't know, I can figure that out later. But what I really want to show you guys is this battle damage section that you saw me working on. To be honest, this battle damage was a big reason why I was kind of putting off and hesitant to start this, just because I knew it was going to be complicated. Couldn't really visualize what I wanted it to look like, but like it goes with all the builds, once I get started, once I get thinking, and once I get into it, I get really excited and cool stuff happens. So I want you, as I show this to you, I want you to bear in mind there are two different types of material right here in this section. First is the stone concrete of the sidewalk right here. Next is the steel or metal wall. So they're going to react differently to the impact of the vulture droid. So we have the vulture droid right here as the top wing comes off. Basically, it's flying down like this, shears through the top of the sky bridge like that, comes down, hits into this wall, rebounds off, and basically just shears out a huge chunk of this concrete right here. So you can see a lot of it is all chipped and broken, but what really got me excited is what I was able to do with the wall. Check out that level of detail. So while the concrete cracks and breaks, I wanted the wall to look more like it buckles and bends, but doesn't actually break. So you can see this section right here is all rounded and deformed with some wedge plates and tiles. Now this section required a lot of thinking on my part because I was trying to figure out how do you make a round-like shape in a Lego brick built wall. And I had the idea to use this Lego net. And I stuck a bunch of studs here on the back side of the net and connected them to the tiles and wedge plates on this side, basically creating a nice little round alcove or divot in this wall. And then I covered up the edges with wedge plates, basically to make it look like the impact made the metal break and kind of ripple outwards until you get to the undamaged sections of the wall. But I can't tell you guys how pleased I am with how this section looks. I know it's a little bit rough now, but you can see once I cover it up and it's black, you won't be able to see any of the net at all. If anything, it'll just look like it broke through the wall a little bit. I may experiment with popping out some of these big tiles to use for smaller tiles, just to make it look a little bit more rounded. Some of these sections look kind of blocky because of how big those 2x2 tiles are. So now that you saw how that concrete reacted to the vulture droid, this is what will happen to the wall. So the vulture droid comes in from above and hits into this wall, pushes in, and then rebounds and is pushed off the side and then comes out back this way into the street, thus creating a large divot or alcove in the wall. So I'm very happy to have that done. That was honestly like probably one of the hardest parts of this little area right here. Now I can continue on with the wall and get ready to add in the other half of the sky bridge. Now that the hard part of the building is done, it's time to throw up the walls. I'm using the same techniques as I did with the first section, so large plates on their side covered with tile. This building will be different from the first one in a big way, as it's going to be mostly hollow walls filled with places to eat, sit, and who knows what else. But first I need to get the outer shell built. I also need to leave a hole on the side of the wall for the other half of the sky bridge to poke out of. The idea behind the sky bridge was an easy way to funnel foot traffic from the apartment complex to the entertainment area without clogging up the streets outside. So I'll have a second entrance to the entertainment area up by the sky bridge. I'm really excited to start on the floor of this section as well because I have some cool ideas for the ground level, from which I took a lot of the inspiration from the Clone Wars episodes where Duchess Satine and Obi-Wan meet up and wander around on the streets of Coruscant. I'm also going to do a little bit of work on the apartment complex hallway because there was a row of dark bluish gray plate that was really bothering me because the whole wall was going to be light bluish gray except for that section, so I'm pulling it out and then just adding in the rest of the light bluish gray wall. Let's see what's going down. So I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like this building is popping up pretty quick. I think it's because I had so much of the experimentation and planning figured out with this one, so I can kind of just go through and plug in the same formula and it comes together much quicker, which is nice. So I've got the hole here where the other section of the sky bridge is going to go. It's going to protrude out right here with a gap in the middle where the vulture droid came crashing down. So what I was trying to explain in the time lapse is this sky bridge is going to open up to a little stairwell that leads down and out into this area, basically allowing people to not have to, flood the streets and stuff, and just a quicker way to get from your apartment over to, something to eat or something fun to do. Although I am going to have to cover up this net somehow. So originally I was planning on having, shops and stuff down here on the bottom, but I'm going to have to change that. But, I could figure all that out later. Here's another look at the battle damage section. So just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on, I'm going to put in a bunch of little dark bluish gray puzzle pieces to basically make it look like the road was smashed and cracked. Obviously it won't be this big. It's just going to be around this area where the vulture droid is, but that's kind of a rough idea of what it's going to look like. I'm just really happy with how this whole battle damage section turned out. I feel like a pro now because I was able to use that advanced net technique. Here's a look at that section of the apartment I was working on. I don't know what I'm going to do with the roof. Honestly, I don't want to make it too detailed. I don't want to waste too much time doing that, so I think I may just keep it flat like this. But all in all, a good productive week. I'm really glad we're getting towards the end of the month because I am running out of parts. So the next month's budget of money is coming in quick, and I am definitely going to be spending that fast because I feel like I need more parts to really continue on. But I do have some interesting stuff planned for next weekend. Let's talk about that. So I don't know how much I talked about this in the previous weeks, but the other night I was laying in bed thinking about the road, the main road in the middle of the mock, and I realized I have a huge problem with it. And I don't want to discuss what it is now because it's the outro, I don't want to take up a bunch of time. But next week I'm going to be addressing that as well as mapping out pretty much the rest of the mock. As I was building the second section, I realized there's no reason that I need to wait to map out the rest of the mock until I get this part finished. Obviously, it made sense with the first section because there was still a lot in front of me. I was still planning a lot of things, but now that I have a lot more stuff cemented and figured out, it might be a good time to just map everything out. I don't have to build the Senate building, but I can at least make sure, everything's going to fit together. So there's going to be a lot of planning and mapping out next week, but there will be building as well because I'm going to be finishing the second half of the Sky Bridge. Don't forget to let me know what you thought about this update down below in the comments, and I will catch you guys next week. But until then, happy building.